Welcome back. In this video, I will discuss pituitary disorders. In this video, there is a brief overview for the pituitary disorders, including hyperpituitarism and hypopituitarism and its manifestations. So, we will talk about what is the pituitary gland. Pituitary gland is a master endocrine gland. Why master endocrine gland? Because it regulates the activity of multiple endocrine organs, like it regulates the activity of the thyroid glands, it regulates the activity of the adrenal glands, etc. It is connected to the hypothalamus by the pituitary stalk that is known as infundibulum, and its weight is about 0.5 to 0.7 gram. It has two main parts: anterior pituitary, also known as adenohypophysis, and posterior pituitary, which is also known as neurohypophysis. Actually, posterior pituitary does not make hormones, it only stores your hormones, which are antidiuretic hormone and also oxytocin. So what is the location of pituitary gland? Here you can see that the pituitary gland is located here, where is a marker. So pituitary gland is located here and it is connected through the infundibulum with the hypothalamus. It is located in the sella turcica of the sphenoid bone. It is covered superiorly by the diaphragma sella and connected to the hypothalamus by the pituitary stalk. It is its anatomic relations are superiorly optic chiasm is present. Superiorly optic chiasm is present and inferiorly sphenoid sinus is present. That's why when the pituitary adenoma is present, it causes compression on this optic chiasm and leads to bitemporal hemianopia. So what are the hormones that are secreted by the pituitary? These are: from anterior pituitary, growth hormone, thyroid stimulating hormone that stimulates the thyroid to produce T3 and T4, adenocorticotropic hormone ACTH. ACTH causes the production of cortisol from the adrenal glands. Then follicle stimulating hormone FSH. It causes spermatogenesis in the males, while luteinizing hormone LH, it causes testosterone production in the males. Then prolactin deficiency. Then posterior pituitary releases actually antidiuretic hormone and oxytocin. So posterior pituitary only stores these hormones and then releases these hormones, antidiuretic hormone and oxytocin. So what are the causes that can lead to the development of panhypopituitarism? The causes of panhypopituitarism are pituitary tumors. Pituitary tumors include pituitary adenoma. Adenoma mostly causes the compression if it is more than 10 mm in diameter, then it causes compression on the pituitary gland, and as a result panhypopituitarism occurs. Then craniopharyngioma also causes compression of the tumor of the pituitary gland, leading to so craniopharyngioma can cause compression of the pituitary gland, leading to panhypopituitarism. Then any surgery or radiotherapy of the pituitary gland can lead to panhypopituitarism, that is shutdown of all hormones production of the pituitary. Then vascular causes like Sheehan syndrome, for example, a patient who is pregnant and undergoes postpartum hemorrhage, then due to that postpartum hemorrhage, the blood flow to the pituitary is decreased, and as a result there is pituitary necrosis leading to Sheehan syndrome. Pituitary apoplexy means there is a bleed inside the adenoma of the pituitary, leading to pituitary apoplexy, and as a result panhypopituitarism can develop. Then tuberculosis, meningitis and brain abscess all can lead to the panhypopituitarism, and certain infiltrative diseases which include sarcoidosis, hemochromatosis, these can all lead to panhypopituitarism. Then autoimmune hypophysitis, then congenital absence of pituitary gland, and hypothalamic hypopituitarism means the hypothalamus does not release the hormones that cause stimulation of the anterior pituitary to produce the hormones, and as a result, due to hypothalamic hypopituitarism, there is panhypopituitarism, that is the pituitary gland does not produce the hormones. Now what are the manifestations? It is according to the individual hormone deficiencies. Like if there is ACTH deficiency, this is secondary adrenal insufficiency, and the patient develops hypotension, hypoglycemia, weight loss, hyponatremia, and fatigue. So these patients have these symptoms due to adrenal insufficiency. If there is deficiency of TSH, then hypothyroidism features are present. This is secondary hypothyroidism. Patients have cold intolerance, constipation, dry skin, bradycardia, weight gain, lethargy. If the patient has growth hormone deficiency, then patient has dwarfism, and as a result, patient has low muscle mass, in high body fat, bone density is low, and has a patient has osteoporosis, poor quality of life because of short stature, maybe, and fatigue. Then LH and FSH deficiency. In case of men, men have decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, infertility because of lack of testosterone and spermatogenesis, and loss of body hair and testicular atrophy, while women have amenorrhea, infertility, decreased libido, and violent dryness in case of LH and FSH deficiency. If there is prolactin deficiency, then there is failure of lactation after childbirth in case of women. Now you can see that when you have suspicion of deficiency of pituitary hormones, then you obtain cortisol and ACTH levels. If cortisol levels are low and ACTH levels are low, so both are low, then it is secondary adrenal insufficiency. You should obtain thyroid. Uh, you should obtain also thyroid function tests. If there is TSH deficiency and also T4 levels are low, then it is secondary hypothyroidism. Then for FSH and LH and sex hormones, you should take the FSH levels and LH levels and also testosterone and estrogen levels. If all are low, it means that the patient has secondary hypogonadism. Then for the growth hormone, you should take sensitive test IGF-1 levels. If IGF-1 levels are low, it means growth hormone levels can be low. Then you should go for growth hormone stimulation test. You should give the patient insulin, and after giving insulin, the patient develops hypoglycemia. And you should remember that hypoglycemia is a triggering factor for growth hormone production. If growth hormone levels remain low after insulin stress test, it means that the growth hormone is not produced now by the pituitary gland. So this patient has hypopituitarism because IGF-1 levels are low, and after giving insulin, the patient developed hypoglycemia, but the growth hormone levels did not rise. It means the patient has growth hormone deficiency. Then how will you treat this patient? If the patient has adrenal insufficiency, give hydrocortisone. If hypothyroidism, give levothyroxine. But you should remember that if the patient has deficiency of adrenal insufficiency and hypothyroidism, you should replace first hydrocortisone. Otherwise, patient can go into adrenal crisis if you give initially levothyroxine and then hydrocortisone. So next thing is hypogonadism. For this, you give testosterone for males and estrogen for females. If there is growth hormone deficiency, you should replace growth hormone. For central diabetes insipidus, you should give desmopressin. And if there is adenoma that causes panhypopituitarism, transpyramidal tumor resection of that adenoma can lead to correction of panhypopituitarism. So what are the causes of hyperpituitarism? We have discussed hypopituitarism briefly. Now, what are the causes of hyperpituitarism? Hyperpituitarism can be due to microadenomas of the pituitary gland that are secretory adenomas. Most common adenoma that causes secretion of the pituitary hormone is a prolactinoma that produces prolactin hormone. Then growth hormone secreting adenoma, ACTH secreting adenoma, TSH secreting adenoma, and mixed hormone secreting adenomas can lead to features of hyperpituitarism. Then pituitary hyperplasia, for example, in case of deficiency of thyroid hormones, there is increased production of thyrotropin releasing hormone from the thalamus, hypothalamus. And hypothalamus, when produces this thyroid hormone releasing hormone, then it leads to the stimulation of prolactin producing cells, that is lactotrophs, and as a result lactotroph hyperplasia occurs. Rarely in case of pregnancy we can see physiological hyperplasia of the pituitary gland, and that's why it is at risk of Sheehan syndrome or necrosis when there is postpartum hemorrhage and low blood flow to the pituitary gland in case of postpartum hemorrhage leading to the Sheehan syndrome, because a pituitary gland has physiological hyperplasia and its blood requirements are more in case of pregnancy. So hypothalamic disorders like excessive hypothalamic releasing hormones, hypothalamic tumors, hematomas, and inflammatory disorders can all lead to pituitary gland hypersecretion of hormones. Then ectopic hormone production, for example, if you have small cell carcinoma or bronchial carcinoid, then we can see that the patients can have growth hormone releasing hormone production, which can lead to the features of hyperpituitarism. So there are some familial and genetic syndromes that can lead to development of features of hyperpituitarism, like men type 1, in which there is hyperpituitarism, hyperparathyroidism, and pancreatic tumors. Then familial isolated pituitary adenoma, McCune-Albright syndrome, and Carney complex, these can all lead to the hyperpituitarism. So what are the features of hyperpituitarism? We will discuss it according to the individual hormone. If the patient has prolactin excess, it can lead to amenorrhea, oligomenorrhea, galactorrhea, infertility, and reduced libido. So oligomenorrhea, galactorrhea, amenorrhea, infertility in case of females, while in case of males, erectile dysfunction, reduced libido, infertility, occasionally gynecomastia is seen in males, and decreased muscle mass in males. While if the growth hormone excess is present, then it lead to, in case of adults, acromegaly. That is, patient has enlarged hands and feet. Coarse facial features, prognathism, etc. Frontal bossing, prognathism, macroglossia. Sweat gland hypertrophy is seen, therefore these patients have sweaty hands when you shake hands with them. So increased sweating. Carpal tunnel syndrome, arthropathy, hypertension, diabetes mellitus because of insulin resistance, then obstructive sleep apnea. These patients have obstructive sleep apnea, and the reason is macroglossia and coarse facial features. Then cardiomyopathy because of high output for the heart, because heart has to pump more and more blood in these patients. Then in case of children, the patients develop gigantism, and these have excessive linear growth, tall stature, and delayed puberty. Now, if the patient has ACTH excess, then patient has Cushing disease. You should remember there is a difference between Cushing disease and Cushing syndrome. Cushing disease means ACTH excess. Cushing syndrome means ACTH levels are low. In case of Cushing disease, the patient has central obesity, moon face, moon-shaped face, buffalo hump, purple stria on the abdomen, and these patients have thin skin. Because of this, patients have easy bruisability and proximal muscle weakness. Patients cannot comb their hair easily, and when they are asked to sit and then stand, they have difficulty in standing from sitting position. These patients also have diabetes mellitus, osteoporosis, psychiatric symptoms, and menstrual irregularities. If there is TSH excess, then there are features of hyperthyroidism, which include weight loss, heat intolerance, tremors, fine tremors. Patients have palpitations, tachycardia, and may have atrial fibrillation. Then patients may have goiter. Then these patients have increased appetite, but despite this increased appetite, these have weight loss, and they also have hyperdefecation, means they have history of diarrhea due to hyperthyroidism. So this is a short overview for pituitary disorders, especially anterior pituitary disorders.